أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. This is the last session of the reflection of principles. In the previous lectures, basically we went through um, the essence of any movement, of any thought and um, belief, that they have some kind of intention behind it. And then through that intention builds ideology. And any ideology requires some kind of practice. So there is something that they believe in, and then there are some things that they have to do in practice to be considered as the followers of that school of thought. So we call those usul al-din wa furu' al-din. Usul al-din, the principles of a belief, um, is like Tawheed, the oneness of God, um, justice of God, um, prophethood, day of judgment, and imamat. And then the Furu'ad-Din, which is basically the practice, like the 5 daily prayer, um, like the fasting that we do, the command for good and forbidding the evil, or um, going to pilgrimage or Hajj. These are the Furu'ad-Din. These are the sides of the belief. The most important thing is, as long as we understand and we have a good understanding of the principles, then the practice of the belief becomes meaningful, becomes bold, becomes important, and something worthy to practice. If our belief or principle belief has not reached its maturity, then the sweetness of the practice would not be tasted. It doesn't mean that if we haven't really digested the principles of belief, then we should basically put away the practice. No, no, because time is against us. You never know when we die and how long we're going to live. So, because we are ordered to follow the practice, we just continue practicing and we work on our principles and build on it too. So pretty much it's like a ladder. Without the ladder, you cannot reach the top. You have to have the ladder always. There are some school of thoughts that once you reach the top, then you don't need the ladder. That's like Sufism. It is wrong, because reaching the top is eternal. Reaching the top meaning reaching to Allah, reaching to God, reaching that highest level of understanding is basically there's no limit to it. So you have to always keep the ladder. You have to always practice. Even the prophets, all the prophets, Prophet Muhammad, Prophet Jesus, Prophet Moses, all of them, Prophet Abraham, Noah, all of them, they practiced. They didn't reach a high level of ma'arifah or knowledge and understanding and then just give up on the practice and say, that's it, we're done. No, there's no end to it. So you have to practice, you have to mature your thoughts, you have to believe stronger and contemplate and understand the principles of your belief and build on your practice and make it more meaningful and um, basically slowly and slowly you get in love with that practice. We talked about the belief that we have in terms of oneness of God and the day of judgment and prophethood. We said it's common in all Abrahamic religions. They all believe in the day of judgment. They all believe in oneness of God. They all believe in prophethood. Because God is just, then the creator that created us cannot just let us go without guidance. And we talked about the attributes of God. And then through the guidance of the prophets, we reach meaningful principles and we understand that how important they are and how important is the day of judgment. And knowing that Allah is watching, is all knowing, all seeing, all hearing, is the most perfect being in this world. He knows about us, He has full knowledge about what we're doing. And so we will be held accountable and we are responsible in this world. Um, I was showing a video actually to a couple of my assistants today about China. They have this interesting, weird law. Um, it says if you have an accident and you are the cause of that accident, a car accident, and whoever you basically injured in the accident, you are responsible for his or her medical treatment for until they are well-being. So this video shows this Chinese guy, and it's a hidden camera, ran over a person who was riding a motorcycle. She fell on the floor. I guess she was complaining of pain, and unfortunately, and very inhumanely, he ran over her again and again and again. I swear, something close to 10 times until that bike rider died. So, where and how and what happens when a human being becomes such a low being, right? That person does not believe in God is watching him and does not believe that there is a day of judgment. So he's not held accountable and thinks that only law that could hold him accountable is the law of land and law that was made by man. So he thought that people are not seeing and not looking, nobody's recording, and he just took the matter in his hands and he's like, you know what, if he's dead, or I'm sorry, if she's dead, is better than being alive, and I have to pay the medical bills. So he ends up killing her. That's pretty sad. So accountability is very important. Restrictions is good. It's just like driving, having a speed limit. If there's no speed limit, there will be a lot of accidents going on. A lot of lives would be lost. With the speed limit today, we still have accidents and we have people losing their lives. And there's so many people. There's what 15 times more chance of you having an accident in a car accident than having a plane crash, right? So there's a lot of laws. You have to buckle up. You have to, slow down. You have to keep and maintain a speed. You have to stop at the red light, right? So any religion should have some kind of restriction, right? So we had prophets, we have day of judgment, we have accountability, we have time that's against us. So the chapter that I recited at the beginning, Wal Asr, God is swearing to the time. And when God swears to something in Quran, the Holy Quran, because He is the most complete, He is the greatest being on earth, He has to swear by something that is great to us, cannot be greater than Him because He's the greatest. So it's relative to us. Like, for example, He swears by the sun, by the moon, by the position of the galaxy and the stars and the moon and uh, the uh, the planets and all that. He swears by the super ego. I mean, we can later on, if you wish, get into discussions about those subjects and matters that God swears by and how great they are. So one of the matters that he swears by is time. Time is something that once it's lost, never gain back. Once you lose time, you cannot take it back. And you have to use your time wisely and you have to be productive. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Surely, human being is at loss. And not loss in terms of, let's say, you had a business and you had some money and you made some money, and then from the profit, you lost some money. No, no. This is basically loss from your capital, your main investment. Everybody's losing. Everybody's losing. As we said, why? Because there's a day of regret, which is the day of judgment. They will show you the level that you could have been. They will show you all the good deeds and the effects of good deeds, where it would take you, how valuable they are. You would regret that I wish I had done something good. You would regret that I wish I had more time to do more good. Even if you age 80, 90, 100 years and you did all the good deeds, you would still regret and wish that you had a couple more years and get more good deeds. So everybody will regret. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا, except for those who believe, وعملوا الصالحات, and did the right thing. عملوا صالحات, صالحات, the right things, meaning that you did the right thing at the right time. For example, being patient in Islam has different meanings. For example, when it's a war and you have to defend your country, you go and fight. That is a type of patience. You have to be patient to defend. There is some guy who comes in and cusses me out, wants to get me angry, but I won't let that behavior overtake me and I would fight back and, let's say, beat him up. No, it's not the right thing to do. Maybe here I should be patient because I should say, who's Hashim that's being disrespected? That's not important. But if he disrespects Islam, for example, disrespects God in general, then I will answer back and say, no, you are wrong. This is the right way. This is, I can basically enlighten him. But again, I would not get physical, because I don't have to bring myself down to his level, right? So patience could be different. One place you have to be actively defending. Some places you have to be verbally defending. Some places maybe you should be just silent, you know, just be quiet. Anyhow, that's عملوا الصالحات. They did the right thing. وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. They have advised and commanded people, other fellow human beings, of the truth and being patient. Again, that patient depends on the situation and what form of patient it is. So we have prophets, we have day of judgment, and then we have the differences among us. Somebody has good memory, somebody doesn't. Somebody has more built body, stronger body, some don't. Uh, some people are born with one hand, some people are not. Some people are born with very, very good memory again, and some people are not. So, is that justice? Yeah, it is justice. Justice comes when God expects you based on your ability. We aren't judged individually, we're not judged as a whole. Sometimes we are. I stand corrected. So, for example, if a community is ungrateful of the blessings, God may take away the blessings from the whole community. Those people who know that there's a blessing and they be silent and they don't talk about it, they don't guide people. And those people who were ungrateful will fall in the same category. You are all ungrateful. So God takes away the blessing. But then, if a community has some group of people who understand the blessing and guide people and warn people and remind people that you have a blessing, that blessing may last a while before God takes it away, or maybe He will add more. Depends. Anyhow, so we are all judged based on our abilities and our capacity. So, for example, if I can sleep only 3 hours and function, then God will say, why did you sleep 4 hours? Why did you sleep 5, 6 hours? You wasted 2, 3 more hours. You should have been up and done something better than just sleeping. But somebody who can sleep on, like, needs to sleep 7, 8 hours, God doesn't expect them to be sleeping less. So He will judge them different based on that capacity. Yet, we can always increase our capacity. That person who thinks that they need 7 to 8 hours can look around and see some people who do sleep only 3, 4 hours and function. I know people who sleep only 1 or 2 hours a day and still function. And I know some people who sleep every 3 days, like once every 3 days, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, and that's it. And then they're up 2, 3 days consecutively with no rest. So a human being has abilities if he or she explores and finds out and work on it. So you can expand your ability. You can expand your capacity. So there is a word by Ayatollah Bahjat. He said that we all can be Salman al-Farsi, one of the companions of the Prophet. That Prophet later said, Salman minna ahl al-bayt. He was so good that he said Salman is one of our family members. He was that good. Or we could be Abu Dhar, one of other companions that everybody believed him being so truthful. And basically, Prophet promised him heaven. He promised Salman al-Farsi heaven. We can be those people, but we choose not to. Why? Because our desire is not the same desire as our God, our Prophet, our Imams. So we have a desire that sometimes supersede and become priority versus something that God really wishes for us. So that's one of the problems. And we become lazy and we don't want to work on ourselves. So that's where justice of God comes. He will judge us based on our capacity. He will judge us based on the opportunities that He has given us to create that capacity. He sends us messages. He will send us signs. Do we see it or we don't? On the day of judgment, some people would be rising with their eyes being blind. They don't see. They can't see. So they ask God that, when I was living in the world, I had eyes, I had a sight. How come I've risen blind? And God answers back, says, you did not have the eyes to see my blessings. So you are blind today. So we got to be careful about how we see our blessings and how we use the God's blessings, and are we grateful or we're not. So in terms of who's grateful, who's not, is the way you use the blessing, or you abuse the blessing, or you just ignore the blessing. Then we get to discussion of imamate. So Prophet Muhammad passed away, age of 63, I believe. And then, um, and then he had to leave a companion, or I'm sorry, a representative, someone to follow up, right? You can't just die and then we're left alone again. So who chooses the successor of the prophet? Is it us? Well, we know based on history, we've had democracies and all of them failed. I don't think we had a really good democracy going on in this world, because we humans choose and pick people based on what we understand. And most of the time, we don't understand well. So someone who is going to have that great responsibility and that heavy burden has to be someone who can handle it. And who knows better? God. So the imams are picked by God. We're talking about the imams that are infallible, not the imams who lead the prayer and all that. No, the leaders, the imams who are infallible, chosen by God. And then after Imam Ali comes Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. I don't know if we talked about this or not, but when Imam Hassan was the Imam of the time, Imam Hussein was following his older brother, Imam Hassan. And it doesn't have to do with age. It is how Allah chose and the order that Allah chose. So later, it was Imam Sajjad. After Imam Sajjad, which Imam Sajjad was the second son of Imam Hussein. So sometimes God throws those curveball and people think that, oh, because he's a senior son, he should be the next imam. No, sometimes God protects those imams from these bad people who are looking for the next infallible imam to kill them and to destroy them because they were against their desire. Just like what they did to Jesus, peace be upon him. Those rabbi who heard about Jesus coming, they saw that Jesus was against their belief, they were against their desires, so they chose to kill him, but they were not successful based on Islamic studies. Just like the Jews who moved to Medina, it's the city close to Mecca, because they just heard that there will be, or the promised prophet that's coming later. So they wanted to meet him first. They wanted to examine him first and see, does the new prophet also comply to their desire or not? And they wanted to also kill Prophet Muhammad. So it's a history that repeats itself. Human beings want to get rid of leaders who are against their desire. And then after Imam Sajjad comes Imam Baqir, and these are the basically nicknames of those imams. Later on, if you want to, we can go through the real names, but anyway, these are the nicknames. So Imam Baqir, Imam Sadiq, Imam Qadim, and then Imam Rida, Imam Rida, and then we can talk about where they're also buried. Imam Jawad, Imam Hadi, Imam Askari, and then the last Imam, Imam Mahdi, Ajalallah. So may Allah hasten his arrival. Imam Mahdi is still alive. Imam Mahdi is someone we can contact. I'll make it simple as possible. Our first responsibility is not to meet and see the Imam. That's not what we're asked for. Our first responsibility is to know our responsibility, to know what to practice, to know what is required from us. If we follow and practice what we were commanded, then we would be slowly getting closer and closer to the Imam. So the more you practice, the more you believe in the principle, the more you do what you are told based on the jurisprudence, which Imam Mahdi said at the time of my occultation, if I'm not mistaken, the disappearance of the Imam. In that time, listen to those who indulge in narrations and the Holy Quran. Those people who do research, those people who spend their life to understand Quran and the narrations. These are called the Maraja, the supreme scholars. Listen to those and follow them in my absence. So you have to pick one of those supreme scholars, whether it's Ayatollah Khamenei, whether it's Ayatollah Sistani, uh, Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi. There's so many of them. Okay, not that many, like hundreds, but they're a pretty handful of Maraj. Vahid Khorasani. There's a lot. Okay, so you just follow whatever you study, you think is right. You can ask around people who know about this, who are experts about religion, to see who to follow, and you look around. You make the decision. And on the day of judgment, you will be asked, why did you pick this person as your marja? or the supreme scholar. And you would have to have an answer. If it's something you desire just because you like it this way, then you're held accountable for it. But the main point is you should follow their books. Ayatollah Bahja, Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Khamenei, Ayatollah Wahid, Wahid, and all those. So you can basically just pick and follow, right? And most of them, almost all of them, they have very, very similarity to each other. So I don't want to make you feel like, oh, these are scholars with different ideas and different beliefs and stuff. No, no, no. The orders that they have, the practices they explain based on the narrations and Quran are very, 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 very similar. Okay, very minute differences. But anyhow, so you follow these instructions, you follow the practices, and you keep building on it. You build your belief, you build your practice, you build your belief, you build your practice, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you get to a point that your heart is ready for the Imam. The Imam will come for you. The Imam will send a messenger for you. It's not me, you, or anybody would say, okay, I'm going to set up an appointment with the Imam. We're going to meet him at this such and such time. It's such a rare thing to happen. It doesn't just happen like a normal day. You see what I'm saying? I can bring that sheet 1 second. Let me grab that sheet 1 second. I did a research just so it's interesting to know that in the time of Ghaiba, that the Imam is not in our reach. Oh, it's in another book. Sorry, it's not in this book. I'm looking for it. There are levels of hierarchy, let's say. So the Imam is at the top, and then there's 4+ more people underneath them, which are called the Autad. And that Autad is throughout history. The Prophet Muhammad had Autad, which were, for example, Salman al-Farsi, Abu Dhar, Imam Ali, Meghdad, who else? Not Meghdad, I'm sorry, Bilal, you know. And then underneath those, there were other companions. And then underneath those, there were other companions. So it's like a pyramid, okay? The Prophet being on top, and then Autad, then Nujaba, then um, I forgot the names. And then each level, it says how many of each exist in this world. Okay, so there's, for example, 4+ Autad. There's 70+ or 40+ Nujaba, 70+, Rijal al-Qayb, this, that. So, I mean, they have categories and they have names. And none of it is like 100% precise, by the way. We're not just going to believe in it and say, okay, this is solid evidence. We're going to just do this. No, it gives you an idea that if you practice, you reach to a point that you are worthy to be heard of, they will put you in the categories later. But when they are putting you in categories, one thing that is very required from you is keeping secrets. Because throughout history, those people who were connected, either directly or somewhat directly, like, for example, the disciples of, Jesus, peace be upon him, they were under attack just because they were connected with Jesus. Same thing with Imam Mahdi. He had 4 representatives, one after another, were attacked and they were not safe. So anyhow, my battery is almost dying, so I will end it soon. It is possible to get in contact with the Imam, but the Imam requires people who are disciplined, who don't just open their mouth and talk to anybody about secrets of Allah and secrets of the world, but requires hardworking people too, committed people, people who understand their principles, who are people of the principle and follow it like by heart, by their soul completely. We have to work on that. We have to work on that. We have to work on our desires. Just because I like to, for example, you know, pray my prayers. You know, sometimes let me give you this little story. Is interesting. Um, Imam Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini, Imam Khomeini, when they took him from Qom, the Savak, the CIA of Shah of the time, back in 1970s or something like that, maybe before that. When they took him from Qom to Tehran to meet the Shah, the king of Iran, the Savak came after him. They arrested him, and it was nighttime, midnight. And as they were driving to Tehran, Imam was super calm. He wasn't worried at all. Actually, the people that were driving and they were taking him away, the Savak, they were more nervous. And he told them to calm down. He said, don't worry, calm down, nothing's gonna happen. So it was close to prayer time. So the Imam started saying, Ayatollah Khomeini, started saying like, can we stop the car? I need to pray. Can we stop the car? I need to make wudu, oblation before the salat. And they said, no, we have to rush because they were afraid that the supporters of Ayatollah Khomeini would follow them and beat them up. So Ayatollah Khomeini, at the end, he said, I'm missing my prayer soon. So please stop so I can do tayammum. That's another type of getting ready for salat, which you use dust. So they said, okay, we'll stop. Do whatever you got. We got to drive on. And he does the tayammum, he sits back in the car, and they drive away. And Ayatollah Khomeini had to pray sitting in the car. He says, I felt that prayer might have been accepted better by Allah than all those other prayers I've had. So sometimes we feel like, I'm going to pray Allah like, oh, wow, that was a beautiful prayer. Yeah, I mean, it might have. But then it might have been also something we desire, something I like. We have to take these I out and become more and more pure for Allah. Like when we're praying, it's nice that you're enjoying your prayer. But then take that I and my enjoyment out and say, I'm standing in front of Allah, is the most greatest being on earth. He's the creator. He's the one giving me sustenance. I am in need of praying to Allah. I need this prayer. And I am praying to someone who is the most beautiful, the most complete, the most merciful, the most beneficent. And keep remembering that in your prayer and enjoy and indulge in that prayer in terms of enjoying it, in terms of being a submissive, being a servant of Allah, not that, oh, yes, now I feel good. I prayed such a good prayer. I'm a good person now. You know, that's different. There's more ego in that. So I'm not gonna hold you up more than this. Thank you so much for listening. It was a pleasure being with you guys. And if you guys want to continue having discussions, question and answers, I'm more than happy to be at your service. Keep me in your prayers and best of prayers to you. Wassalamu alaikum.